Happy New Week, everyone. I'm delighted to say that it's none other than Uma Gurav is back to me to wrap up the WSL action. Uma, how are you doing?
I am good. Oh, we've been spoilt this weekend. I've just come back from West Ham Villa as we speak. So yeah, I've had my football fill, but it feels like this one's been a bit of a pivotal weekend in the WSL title race. We have to start with actually maybe my favourite game I've watched for a while. Man United Chelsea finished 1-1. This feels like such a significant result to me, Leanne. I mean, Man United had only ever beaten Chelsea once before coming into this, and that was in the FA Cup a couple of years ago when they went on to win it. They were no doubt kind of, I think, everyone was saying, oh, I know Man United have been good, but can they really do anything against Chelsea? But they were the better team. Actually, they should have won this game. But, let's walk and then we'll run. I think even the draw shows maybe the tables are turning here.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I love the Friday night games. I keep saying it, but like, I think Manchester United women go under the radar quite a lot and everything they're doing because there's so much of a dark cloud over the men's side. I genuinely think. And then, like, Mark Skinner came out and he's spoken about the fact their boots have just been found from that flight. There's always something else off the pitch that seems to be kind of taking over what they're doing on the pitch. And I think this result, I agree with you. I thought they were the better side. I mean, after Captain scored early on and then late on in the game, she had another opportunity that she could have scored. But I thought Sandberg's goal was unbelievable. Like, what a strike that was. And I think, overall, I think Man United deserved it. But Chelsea, I've said I think they can go another season unbeaten. But they've obviously dropped points, which is a draw. They did that last year against Leicester as well. But the problem I think with Chelsea is Sonia Bonpastor trying to find the best fits for the players. And honestly, like, Alyssa Thompson came into the game again. She looked bright. But like what I'm seeing with Alyssa Thompson, and I spoke about it with Heather O'Reilly on another show last week, when she played for Angel City, would stay really wide, right? Now, I'm not going to get into all the parameters and diameters of pitches, but it's very different in England. And I think she looked bright. I think there's a couple of times she put some really good balls into the box, but I think she's going to have to find a way of being able to kind of keep width without running into numbers. Does that make sense? Because when she played for Angel City, she was much wider and had more space to come in. So I think she's looking bright. I think she's looking sharp. But yeah, I mean, tinkering with the team quite a lot. Like Natalie Bjorn started in the back line. Sonny Baltimore comes back into the back line. So I still think Sonia Bonpastor, sometimes you can tinker too much.
Yeah, and you know what? I think as well, we said this a lot last season as well, when they weren't necessarily winning games convincingly. Chelsea aren't the same beast that they once were. I know they are still winning all the time. They're finding a way to get the job done. But really, I think if anything, what this result against Man United shows is that actually Chelsea winning the WSL year on year is becoming less about their skill and more about the fact that there's just not enough opposition to challenge them. As soon as you put in a team like Manchester United, who actually really know what they're doing right now, and yeah, like you say, that Anna Sandberg goal was great, but they've been finding ways to score all over the pitch. I think as soon as you have a team like that, suddenly the title race becomes so much more interesting. And you mentioned Alyssa Thompson, who I guess we'll see how long it takes her to settle in, but got to shout out Jess Park. I mean, obviously she picked up player of the match in that game, and we'll give a shout out as well to Tom Gary last week, who said that Jess Park had been his kind of signing of the summer. But what a signing she's been. I mean, Serena Vegan was at the game, definitely had eyes on her, I think.
Yeah, Jess Park's been brilliant. And I said it on last week's show with Tom that I feel like she just looks like she fits in there seamlessly. And she's had a couple of opportunities. We saw the banger that she scored last season at the Emirates when she was playing for City. It's probably one of the best goals I've seen in a long, long time. And she's picking up the ball centrally. She's looking really good, going direct. She had a couple of opportunities where she got a couple of shots off. But I think she's been excellent for them, along with Maezawa. I think Rolfa's also doing well as well, kind of quietly going about her business. Maya Tissier, oh, like unbelievable. Like the fact that I mean, you talk about Serena Wiegman being at these games, like she has to be given a chance with England. I'm not saying that she should start every game. Obviously, we know Leah Williamson's been out with injury, but Maya Tissier needs to get a chance with England, surely. Captain in the team. She leads by example. She's been brilliant.
I think it was towards the end of the game that it was kind of 1-1, and she just did this sliding block, like put her body on the line, and you think that's like captain material, that's England material. I honestly don't
And she's still only
understand.
23. Do you
I
know what I mean? Like she's
know.
still like in the prime, about to be in her prime. I love Maya Letizia. I think she's top.
She's fantastic. I think she set a record as well for the most consecutive starts in the WSL, literally in that game. So fair play to her. A lot to come, I'm sure. Before we move on to talk about Man City, Arsenal, which is kind of going to be the same kind of conversation, speaking of the title race now, has your view changed at all on it after that game? Are you thinking Man United maybe actually could pip it, or is it still kind of Chelsea's to lose?
Nah, I still think it's Chelsea's to lose. I think Manchester United women are going to achieve way more than people expect. But I still think right now I'm looking at Chelsea all day long and I'm looking at City. Arsenal, we'll talk about them in a minute, but like really underwhelming, really underwhelming.
Yeah, you mentioned City there. Obviously, a huge win for them on Saturday. 3-2 win over Arsenal. I gotta say, I didn't see this one coming. Man City now up in second. They're just over Spurs on goal difference. But yes, I know they lost out to Chelsea the first day. Wasn't it, again, I don't think they lost out by much. But like you say, they are in with a serious shout at the title here because they don't have Champions League, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think Manchester City women, like last year, we go on about it a lot, the Barcelona game, but I think if they had everyone fit and healthy, like they looked like they were going to be that team that could win the Champions League. No one was talking about Arsenal or Chelsea at that time. It was like they were doing so well. And then they had I know every club gets injuries, but they had so many injuries. You know, Lauren Hemp, Miedemar, Bunny Shaw ended up getting injured, Alex Greenwood, like the list could go on. They looked really good, didn't they? Against Arsenal. Like they just looked really, really good.
They look so good. And, you mentioned Bunny Shaw. When she's in that kind of form, she's just unstoppable. But it was a real team performance. They haven't got Lauren Hemp at the moment. Of course, she's still out with that injury, and yet they're still finding the way. And you've got the workhorses in that team. Yui Hasegawa, we've shown a lot of love for her on this show. But I think, yeah, in games like this, she just proves to be the difference. On the flip side of that, Arsenal now, that's first defeat of the season, I know, but they've also dropped points, two draws before that. Is that their title race done? I know it sounds crazy to say, but are they out of it?
I think it is. I really do. I think dropping points against Manchester United women, that's not embarrassing. I think, as we see, Man United are doing a relatively decent job, but to draw the game at the Emirates against Villa, that one for me, like I look at it, I just can't see Chelsea dropping points. Now, Chelsea might drop points against City, potentially, but I don't think they're going to drop points against teams like Villa, so we'll have to wait and see. I want to give a shout out, though, to friend of the show, Kasparai. She got player of the match. She was unbelievable in that game, getting assists, pulling strings. She even got on the score sheet. Then it was offside. Like she was exceptional in that game.
She's picked up player of the match like three times since she came on our show and spoke to you. So I'm not saying it's connected, but oh yeah, no, she's been fantastic. Somebody else who scored against her former club, Chloe Kelly, she's been getting mixed reaction for this because obviously she celebrated hard. They went on then not to win the game, unfortunately. What did you make of the celebration? Are you all for that, given what she went through, or should she have maybe waited till they won the game?
No, I think, it's not really about at that moment in time, she's not thinking about the team. It's more personal because of how she was made to feel at Manchester City women. She's like, this is my club. And there was times where Chloe Kelly has spoken about wanting to stop playing. And that was, imagine Chloe Kelly stopping playing based on how she was feeling at a club to then get that loan move to Arsenal, to then go on to win. There was times she wasn't even playing for England. She wasn't being selected. She came off standby because of what was happening at Manchester City. And I think, for me, I don't think you can ever judge until you walk a day in the life of, and the goal she scored was an absolute banger. Ultimately, she probably thought that would have been, the equaliser. But again, Benny comes off the bench, scores the goal and gets the winner. But I love Chloe Kelly. She's a good friend of mine. And I just think, we see that happen in the men's game all the time and no one bats an eyelid. And I think when someone does it in the women's game, it's like, oh, you can't do that. You're a woman. What are you doing? But actually, like, I think Chloe Kelly has a right to do whatever she feels like she wants to do because there was periods of time at that club that she didn't feel good. And now she's turned it around. But Chloe Kelly's a winner. She wants to win.
And she does win, and she has won a lot, obviously. Like you look at the Ballon d'Or, and I think it was fifth she finished. And that was in spite of the time that she spent on the bench at Man City. So when you think about how all of that must have built up inside her.
Bench for City and bench for England.
Well,
Probably minimal,
exactly.
probably. I'm going to give you a little task for next week, Uma, that I feel like there is not a player that has played less minutes that's got in the top five for the Ballon d'Or than Chloe Kelly for club and
It's
country.
fun
We'll have to come
task.
back, watch this space.
I will investigate. I will find out. But yeah, I think you're probably right. And you know what? Fair play to her. Happy for her. But yeah, unfortunately, I'd have to agree with you. I think that might be Arsenal's title race done. But it's fine because they're going to defend the Champions League. We'll come on to that later. But let's move on now to talk about London City Lionesses and Liverpool. This was a big one going into it, of course. Both, I guess teams who had been maybe in a difficult position beforehand, Liverpool certainly hadn't picked up any points. They still haven't because London City won it 1-0. They're really starting to come into their own. I'm enjoying watching them a lot. They play a nice brand of football, and those signings are gelling, aren't they?
They are, and it's interesting because it looked like Uma Gurav went into the midfield as opposed to being in the back line. And we know she's not blessed with pace. I wasn't blessed with pace, so I'm not even saying it like that. I think Francie coming into the lineup helped give them a little bit more width. We know you know what you're going to get when Nikita Paris when she's out there. She'll always be good for a goal or very dynamic. I think the fact that Asalani came off the pitch in like the 80th minute, she probably would have been the one that took the penalty, and it was Linari that stepped up. I'm surprised that Goodwin wasn't the player that took the penalty. To be honest, I was quite surprised at that. But again, modern day football isn't always the centre forward and the midfielders that take the penalties. Sometimes the goalkeepers are better. And that's the reality. I personally wouldn't be letting a defender take a penalty instead of me. But the best for the team, and Linari steps up and puts it in the back of the net. So I think London City are doing exactly what I expected them to do. A lot of people are tipping them to make the top three and all that. I think people are getting a bit carried away. I think they're doing relatively decent, a lot of new signings. Surprisingly, though, Katie Zelem didn't even get on. Like, that was quite
Yeah.
surprising. Alana Kennedy came into the game late on in the 90th minute. But, like, it's quite strange, isn't it? Like, those two players, you would see them as being key players to this London City Lionesses side, and they haven't been.
Yeah, well, especially because Katie Delham's got so much WSL experience. I mean, she captained Man United, of course, so she knows exactly what it's like to play in the league. And I think that was one of the criticisms when they were losing those games by big margins, is that they had great players who didn't know what it was like to play in the WSL. On the flip side of this, of course, Liverpool are in really bad trouble here. I don't want to say I told you so, but I did
No,
say
you
this.
did.
But it's
Fair
not.
play.
And you know what? It's not nice to see because it's exactly the reasons that we talked about. They're using this 4-1-4-1 formation now. They've used it twice in a row. And you can tell what they're doing is they're just relying on a strong defense to kind of hold down the other team and then maybe nick a goal because they just don't have the attacking flair in their team to create anything. And you can't even blame the manager at this point because what's Gareth Taylor supposed to do given that that's all he's got in his side?
Yeah, it's difficult because you look at like the signings of Shimazu. I thought she was decent at West Ham, but not necessarily a key player. They've got Gemma Bonner, that knows how to play in the WSL. She won with Liverpool the league a few years ago. But then you look at the quality of their players. I spoke about Enderby, Kerr, Holland, Nagano. Like, they've got decent players, but like, where has this money gone from Olivia Smith? Where has it gone? There's been no investment, and it can't all be on Gareth Taylor based upon the fact that the quality of the individuals they've got. And you were right, Uma. You said you were worried about them. Now they're winless. And these are the types of games they have to pick up points in. Like, especially against London City Lionesses, the teams that might be in and around them, and teams like Leicester and those types of teams. Like, doesn't look good right now at all. And it's hard to see where their first win's going to come from.
Honestly, it's just them and West Ham now who are without a win. That game, when those two meet, is going to be huge. Actually, let's come on to talk about West Ham now because, again, hard day for them. They were up against Aston Villa. I was actually at this one down at the Chigwell Construction Stadium. And you know what? I'll say this for West Ham. I haven't seen them in person play this season. The potential is there. I mean, Fionn Morgan, who you had on the show a couple of weeks ago, she was great down the wing, lots of energy. Shakira Martinez, of course, we've seen what she can do. They're trying to make things happen, but it's just that final pass, that last bit of quality. I mean, there were some excellent saves from Villa today, but they must be just thinking, what do we have to do to win?
Well, they were my team that I tipped to kind of exceed expectations,
Yeah.
like the team that I felt like would be doing far better. I think historically for West Ham, they've always kind of underachieved, but this squad, they seem to get better as the season goes on. That one time last year, it looked like Rian Skinner was kind of people questioning should she be in the job, and then she got some incredible results against top sides, and then signed a new contract. And I think she is the right person for the job there. But you're right, they got Ueki, Asai that always performs. Denton, I thought, was excellent in this game.
Yeah, she was really
So
good.
it's just difficult because they try to play out from the back in the way that they do, and they get caught quite a lot against a team that's high pressing. So 0-0 at half time, going in at half time, you're thinking, okay, optimistic. Then Hansen scores an absolute banger for Villa. Like, we've seen some unbelievable goals this weekend in the WSL. And then I just felt like it was formality for Aston Villa. The quality they have. I'm glad that Ebony Salmon is finally getting a run of games. Rachel Daly is playing in the 10. Doesn't quite look like the Rachel Daly. Love Rach, she's a top person, but doesn't quite look like the Rachel Daly. But I want to give a shout out to Grant. I thought she was excellent on that right hand side. What a signing she's been.
She was very, very good. She's really strong. Like she knows how to play that position as well. Very impressed with her. And yeah, like you say, Kirsty Hansen, absolute screamer. Then followed up with another screamer, Lynn Wilms, the free kick. I was thinking, oh my gosh, they've been practicing these in training, but fair play to Villa. Yeah, they I suppose deserved that one in the end. Come on to Spurs Brighton now. We won't talk too much about them because I know you've got a very special guest coming on next. But Spurs won 1-0 in the end. They beat Brighton, which I was pleasantly surprised about because I think you kind of look at those two teams and actually on paper you think maybe Brighton are slightly stronger. But this, if anything, this shows you how good Spurs are at the start of this season.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Martin coming on next, and I'm not just saying it because he's coming on the show, but like they've been brilliant this year. You can see they've got an identity. I think at times Spurs went through that phase where, under Robert Villaham, there was a moment a couple of seasons ago, they're making the FA Cup final, they were looking really, really good. And I think, since Martin's come in, he's done an incredible job. I think they look like they're balanced. The players look like they're in form. Suminen's picking up the ball centrally, being able to play to Tanberg. And I don't feel like it's just reliant upon Beth England. They're not used to it would be like they'd only win games if Beth was scoring. Now I feel like the load is shared. I think Drew Spencer's performing well. And there was a time where Ashley Neville came out of the team as well, which I was quite surprised at. I think for Brighton, though, it's difficult because they're just not creating a lot of chances, Uma. They've got a lot of good players. Kavaji, Adjiaman got off to the mark last week, scoring her first goal. They've got Chankovic, who I liked when she was at Chelsea. So no doubt they have the quality, but they just don't seem to be creating enough. And that's why when I said about Michelle Adjiaman going there, I understand she's going to play 90 minutes every single game, but is she on a team that is able to make her shine? I'm not quite sure about that.
I think that's so fair. And as well, this week they didn't have Fran Kirby, and suddenly the creation of chances goes down even more because when Fran Kirby's in that squad, something is going to happen. At least there'll be an opportunity. But yeah, it felt like that was down by a big percentage this week. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on them. Final game to chat about is Leicester Everton. That finished 1-1. Interesting game. Probably a fair result in the end. I mean, Ornella Vignola back on the score sheets. She was so impressive back in the derby, but then Noemi Mouchon comes back from her ACL injury, scores straight away. What did you make of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think a draw was a fair result. When you look at possession, it's pretty evenly matched. Shots on target. I think if we were predicting this one before, it had a draw written all over it, didn't it? But then at the same time, I think Everton have been decent this season. You look at this Leicester side, the quality they have, similar to last year. They've got Kane up top. I like Van Egmond since they brought her in. I think she's the type of player that's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Janice Cayman always shows up within games, but then it's like, where else are the goals going to come from? Rantala up top wasn't really getting on the ball that much. And then for this Everton side, we know Vignola got off to a fantastic start beginning of the season. Katie Robinson, I've got my eyes on her this year because I think there's been quite a decline with regards to minutes. Like at one point, it was looking like she was going to be that next young player that Michelle Adjiamang, has become. And then didn't really kind of maneuver from Brighton to Villa and now, at Everton. But I think a draw was a fair result, to be honest.
Looking at Leicester and how they performed the last couple of weeks, obviously with Liverpool and West Ham still yet to pick up any points. I know you mentioned Leicester at the beginning of the season as perhaps your relegation worries. Do you still think that's the case for them, or are you thinking, "Oh, actually, maybe they'll be all right"?
It depends if they can pick up points, and these are the games where they have to win. When you look at the table, yeah, we're only 5 games in, 4 games for some teams, and they have to pick up points in these games. And what I mean by that, at least they've got a point, but 3 points obviously would be preferred because I can't see teams like Leicester, getting any joy out of Arsenal or United or even Tottenham potentially. Do you know what I mean? So they have to pick up points to the teams around them. And I think Everton, we had Mas Pacheco on the show a couple of weeks ago, and she spoke about Brian Sorensen because at times I've questioned what are they trying to do, what is their identity, and I think you can finally see that coming through.
Well, now it is time for my favourite part of the week. We're going to predict next weekend's scores. We didn't do this last week because of course you were on with Tom Gary, but let's see if our prediction skills have got any better because the first one we're going to predict is Aston Villa Leicester. What are you going for?
I'm going to go for a Villa win. I'm going to say 2-0.
Okay, I actually kind of thought that as well, but I'm going to say, because I was very impressed by Villa, I'm going to say 3-0. Chelsea Spurs, I will be at this one. What are you thinking?
Do you know what? I'm going to say I think Spurs will score, but I think it's going to be 3-1
Ooh,
Chelsea.
nice. Okay. I really wasn't sure about this one because Spurs have been so good other than that match against Man City when they conceded so many. So I wasn't sure whether it was going to go that way. But I think they're going to not do too badly. So I'm going to say 2-0 to Chelsea.
Okay.
Next one, Everton Man United.
I'm going to go Man United 2-0. I think they've been in a great run of form. And I think, yes, it's at Everton, but I'm going to go United 2-0.
Well, you say that, but Goodison Park hasn't been a happy stomping ground for Everton so far this season. So I'm actually going to say Man United are going to win this one 4-0. I think they're
Ooh.
going to be back ready to go. I know they've got Champions League midweek, but I just have a feeling it'll be a big one. Another interesting game. London City Lionesses against West Ham.
I'm going to go West Ham for this one. I know West Ham are sitting rock bottom. London City Lionesses have got off to a better start, but I have a feeling West Ham might win this one. I'm going to go 1-0.
Do you know what? I actually have put the exact same thing. Watching West Ham today, I think they are going to pull a win out the bag, and I think the same 1-0. So we agreed on that one. Arsenal Brighton, the Michelle Adjman derby.
I'm going to go. She can't play though, can she? Can she play?
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
she
she
can because of her
can.
parent club.
Yeah, it's like similar to the Grace Clinton one last year.
Hmm.
I'm going to go Arsenal. I think they're going to bounce back. I'm going to go Arsenal 3-0.
Nice. I'm going to say 2-1 to Arsenal. And finally, Gareth Taylor up against his former side, Liverpool Man City. This one could be interesting.
I'm going to go Man City 4-0. I think, yeah, I just think their quality will shine through. It could be even more than that.
I think I'm going to go 5-0. I think it's going to be a tough day for Liverpool, but we will check in on those again, see how we've done. Thanks for having me, Leanne. I'll chat to you again in a little bit because we're going to talk Champions League, but for now, that's us.